Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
So, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
And 2020. Those are two things that happened.
They are.
Alright, let's start with the boring one. 2020.
Before we get into things, we have a new voice on the podcast today. It's our friend Sam Chernick.
Hey boys.
He's
it's me.
one of the Delta Phi lads in our fraternity.
Hey.
He's joining us to complain about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or
I
not
have-
complain.
Or not.
Well-
Who's to say?
Well, I have some words.
Some words to say.
Some words.
At the microphone.
Especially with the most recent movie. The most recent one.
To be fair, I think it's been a decade since any of us have even
Okay.
seen the movie, so,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Bold of you
Alright,
to
Dad.
assume that.
I don't even know where to begin.
Oh,
I think we should
I
start
know.
with how much we all liked Rey and Kylo's relationship.
Stop.
I
Stop.
really,
I was okay.
Stop.
I have a legitimate story on that. So, I was watching this with my mom, and this is very important to her because when she was a kid, like 10 years old, right? She got in and she saw Star Wars for the first time, right? First movie when it came out, and it changed the world. It was like the coolest thing she'd ever seen, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, it kind of was. So she's loved the series the entire way. So I was watching this with her. And, she's fangirling the whole time because she loves it. She's a classic Star Wars fan, as classic as you can get.
yeah.
And I remember sitting next to her, just kind of like looking back and forth, like just at the screen at her. I'm like, no, please no, don't kiss, please, no.
Oh, she didn't
It's,
want them to?
No, I was like, please, for the love of God.
How was
no.
she
I was
feeling
like-
about it?
She was eating it all, and she was fine with it. I'm like, you
Well,
can't,
you
you can't, no,
right.
this is
Wake up,
There was
sheep.
really no setup for it. Like, it just
Yeah,
doesn't...
and why does Kylo die?
Yeah,
This doesn't make any sense!
So the
Yeah.
whole thing is that like he transfers his life force
Yeah,
to her,
exactly. But
Yeah.
why did he wasn't dead? Like, I don't know.
but well, she was.
Okay.
Oh, well,
she was
So it's like a
dead.
trade.
Yeah, I get.
But, I mean-
why was she dead?
So first of all,
don't
well,
do that.
okay.
Alright, wait. If we're just
why-
picking
yeah,
She
that is a good
meets
point.
Palpatine
That
and
is a
then
good point.
dies.
Yeah, literally.
Like what?
Because I know they both had like Palpatine like took their life forces or
Yeah,
whatever.
why
But
can
didn't
he
they just
only
die right
take
there?
life
But then it
forces
didn't.
from a dyad? Like, why did that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was diode. Like
Diode.
That's a flow of current in one direction. But
yeah, the direction was into Palpatine's
Oh, yeah.
old GLaDOS-looking
Good.
skin.
Okay. I have two.
yeah,
big-
I mean the problem with 9 is they just made shit up as they went.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
They
okay.
were just
First of
like-
all, don't swear on the podcast.
We'll cut that out.
Spit.
What
Just use spit
Connor
instead.
means is
My hand.
language.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
swear on my fucking podcast.
Okay. To be fair, I think you did too. Bear.
We'll bleep
But
that one out in post.
Anyway,
Make it louder.
like
Make it
they
louder.
just decide. Yeah, right.
Bass
I'll go back.
boost.
Every time we swear, I'll go back and bass boost it and make it 10 times louder.
Don't you ever swear in my fucking podcast?
It's just-
No, but I agree, Andy. They kind of just like, I mean, obviously every Star Wars movie kind of invents lore, but it's like stuff that's so easy for Rey to do with like 30 minutes of training. And it's like, okay, this is the exact power that Anakin sought to save his mother. And it's like the entire reason why he turned to the dark side.
And
why
Kylo
Palpatine
Ren
was
has
actually,
it.
yeah, and why Palpatine was able to like recruit him as Darth Vader. And Rey is like in this cave with this worm, and she's like, I'm just gonna heal him. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I
guess
just
I'll just
diverted
do
some of my
that.
life energy.
I'll just
And
do
she's
it.
so like calmly is like, oh, you know, I saw him with this scar, and I just diverted some of my life energy. And it's like, okay, you say that like it's common knowledge. Like if
Like,
Anakin knew that, and he could just
That's
do it
literally
on his...
groundbreaking
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the
The,
world.
the
Exactly.
Jedi get progressively less training as you go through the movies. Anakin was like, I'll train for a lifetime. Luke
Yeah.
was like, just give me a couple weeks. And Rey was like, I already know it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that-
I already saw the other
She-
6 movies. I know what I'm doing.
She's playing on New Game Plus and skips the tutorial.
I very much dislike the fact that Kylo Ren, the Darth Vader wannabe, can do force healing and Darth Vader cannot.
Yeah, honestly.
That
Yeah,
makes me
right.
unbelievably sad.
Yeah.
And that Darth Vader couldn't, or that Kylo couldn't beat Rey once, despite training his entire life and supposed to be stronger than Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And like
well,
Luke,
don't
he was
say
so
that.
strong that like Luke was
He's
scared
supposed
of
to
him.
be.
Don't say that. What?
He was so strong that like Luke was scared of him.
Right.
And like he
Yeah,
was like
true.
his star pupil and stuff, and he like beat all the other,
Stupid.
you know, the other apprentices and
Yeah,
killed
yeah,
them.
we never
Oh,
saw any
speaking
of
of Luke's
that.
training, how about Leia just all of a sudden
Being a Jedi?
Being a Jedi,
Oh, I
and
actually-
no chance.
In
No,
episode
I
8,
saw
when she
something
pulls
about that
herself
one,
through space I cannot believe that.
Well,
So-
wait.
That's
That
not-
actually had a reason though. It was because Carrie Fisher died. They wanted Luke to train her in Episode 9. That's what I think someone said.
I don't know. I think
remember
what
if
they
it was
should have
JJ
done.
or,
I think they just made a
Lucas.
mistake. What is I think evident to me is they had not planned out the full trilogy when they made 7.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They should have at least an idea. They gave themselves dead ends
Yeah.
with 7, made nothing with 8, and then had to wrap up a trilogy in one movie.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's my biggest thing. I didn't hate 9 because it was the result of 7 and 8. Like,
Exactly.
in terms of things I didn't know how I wanted this trilogy to end. I knew I wouldn't like it. But in terms of how I wanted it to end, it came pretty close. Because, like, for the majority of the movies, there's not a super strong villain, so they just fall back on Palpatine.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, first of all, I hate because I want Palpatine to be dead.
That's the thing. I feel like it
Yeah.
invalidates Anakin's redemption.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does actually.
Because,
Absolutely.
you know, his whole thing is that, like, he finally has defeated the Emperor and, like, redeemed himself
Yeah,
in some
balanced
senses.
the-
And,
yeah.
balanced the universe.
Yeah.
But then Palpatine's like, nah, I just survived.
Yeah, no, I just lived.
But I think
Fucking
that's
shows up.
like Andy was saying. That's the biggest issue with the new trilogy is that it lacks like a solid vision from movie to movie, and it feels like they did pretty much no planning at the beginning to set themselves up for success at the end. I mean, you compare it to the MCU,
Yeah.
where Infinity War and Endgame are the culmination of like 22 movies or something
Yes.
like that. You know, like, and they've put these plot points in and sprinkled them throughout a decade of filmmaking and countless directors and countless stars and countless writers, and like they managed to tie this story in so perfectly because they have such good creative direction. I think the guy who like does the main creative direction for Marvel is Kevin
Kevin Feige.
Feige.
That's the genius of Steve's favorite movie, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Stop. This is about Star
Aside from
Wars.
Captain Marvel,
Don't be
but-
giving me a hate boner mid podcast.
I mean, Kevin Feige has done like such a good job of like creating a single vision for the MCU, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I mean, it's stumbled at times with like the Dark World and
the other
Dark
Thor
World.
movie.
yeah, the
World.
first Thor, I guess.
Was-
but like,
was-
Iron Man 2.
yeah,
Iron Man 3.
I don't know if they exactly
Honestly,
knew
Iron
where
Man 3 is
Thanos
worse
was
than Iron
going
Man
at
2.
first.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't totally know.
no, but like they hit their stride and they only got stronger.
Right.
They didn't dwell on the mistakes of previous movies,
Yeah.
and they didn't
Well,
set themselves
yeah.
up for failure as
Well,
much
yeah.
as Star Wars did.
Well, like look at Thor Ragnarok, and it was almost like Thor Ragnarok was so amazing, right? Because they looked at like the past few Thor movies, and they're like, okay, all right, so we got Thor. He's a super buff Viking that travels on a rainbow and swings around a big. Why are we taking this seriously? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Like,
And
might
they're
as
like,
well make
let's
it
just
wacky.
yeah. And then you look at any of like Thor's like old comics, like it's just weird.
Well, yeah, because the thing
Right?
is, Iron Man 1 and like Captain America, like they're actual people
Yes.
who like have these harrowing experiences that turn them into like Supermen, you know?
Yeah, Thor is literally just like a wacky, like
Right.
fever dream trip of a guy.
Yeah.
So they were trying to
right?
copy that, and it didn't work. So
No.
like, take it a different way.
I mean,
Yeah.
you shouldn't try to ground a character that's so obviously
Exactly.
not grounded.
Yeah,
But,
and then,
I
Well,
mean-
they did
and then
ground
they-
him well in Endgame.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
for
God,
sure. But
he was-
after all his character development and all that, but
Tony,
I mean,
was
going back
really
to
gonna
the
slap you if you
yeah.
said they
Get-
grounded him in Thor 1 because he couldn't fly. I was really gonna slap you.
Getting back to Star
yeah,
Wars,
yeah,
though,
going back to
yes.
Star
I think
Wars.
one thing that that they really did wrong was they were just trying to please people. So like in episode 7,
yeah,
there were just a whole bunch of weird scenes where J.J. Abrams was trying to use practical effects. Like there was like this scene where it's like baking bread when Ray dumps
Yeah.
the water in it.
Yeah.
That's a practical effect,
remember that.
not computer generated. And he's like, you see, this is what
This is what people want,
This is
is
what
they
people
want it,
want
yeah.
because everyone's complaining about the special effects. Too many special effects in 1, 2, 3. That he's like, oh well, I'll put a practical effect in 7. That's what people want. It's like
Yeah.
it's not that we want a practical effect of making bread. We want a good movie.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, people always shit on the prequels a little bit for the bad CG, but you can look past bad CG to see a good movie. I mean, you look at any
Exactly.
other movie at that era. You look at like The Matrix or something.
Right.
Obviously, the CG is not great now, but for when it was made in like the turn of the century, like it's really good CG. And the same is true with Star Wars. Obviously, they spent a lot of money on the CG, and like it looks pretty good if you're looking at it on like
Yeah.
a smaller TV and like not in 4K or whatever. Like the prequels still look pretty good, but people don't like them because the scripting is bad.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Maybe
like,
I'm a fake
that's-
fan, but I thought the CGI in the prequels was actually okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so
it's
too.
not that
Like,
bad.
you
What
go
it
back
comes
and
down
watch
to-
like 3, and it still looks good. Like it holds
Yeah,
up.
it's not bad. 3 is so good.
Yeah. I think you have to say the prequels couldn't fall back on CGI when they didn't have good story, just as the sequels can't fall back on practical effects and the original trilogy when people want
A decent story.
a decent story.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. Is 7 really? I don't think set them up for success. Like people say that 7 was a good movie, and it was a fine movie standalone, but it wasn't a good introduction to the trilogy, and that's really where all the problems started. Because you read the opening crawl, and it's just nonsense. Like you look at the opening crawl for Episode 4, and within the first line, it's like, rebels have struck the Galactic Empire from a secret base. Or something like that.
That just told you
and
everything
it tells
you
you,
need to know.
it sets you up perfectly in one line. It's like, okay, there's a galactic empire, this massive galactic-sized military, and then there's a group of rebels who are trying to fight them and attack from a hidden base. And it's like, okay, I get it. But in 7, I can't exactly remember how it goes, but it's like, talking about the First Order and the Resistance and the New Republic, and it doesn't explain any of it. And the New Republic is mentioned like offhand once, and it's like you can't.
Oh, and then they deleted it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't say that like
they just like
most of the galaxy has regrouped as a New Republic, and like most of the galaxy is now sort of how it was before the Empire, except for this like Imperial remnant, which is the First Order. And I think in like the EU there were like a lot of Imperial remnants, but like the First Order is like they're the fanatics. They're the small band of terrorists now, not the rebels. Like
Yeah.
like
true.
it doesn't necessarily feel like that to me.
well, that's the problem.
Well, like what it ended up feeling like to me, right, is like basically a lot of people just kind of moved away and went back to the old system. But then you still had a huge portion of the empire that still was the empire. They just call it the First Order now. That's what I took away from. That's what it felt to me.
I think that's what it's
But
supposed
I mean,
to
that is
be.
what it's supposed to be. But they just
Yeah.
they say that in the opening crawl, and then it just never is supported because it's like the New Republic is supporting the Resistance, and it's like does the New Republic not have like a standing military? Why is it supporting this like terrorist cell that's trying to attack the First Order? Like that, the politics just don't make any sense, and people complain about the politics in the prequels.
Yeah.
But at least it does a really good job to like set up the world building,
Right. Yeah.
Like-
I mean, in 7, it's almost incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
it's just
mean,
like, what's happening?
why does the First Order have so much, like, infrastructure? How
Yeah.
are they able to build something that was literally 100 times the size of the Death
Yeah.
Star
It's the
when it took
stupidest-
the length
Yeah.
of the distance between 3 and 4 to construct one Death Star, and now they've just constructed.
Yeah.
And they have
A
literally an
planet
entire
killer,
planet
like-
of slaves, like the Geonosians,
Yeah,
who are
it's like,
forced
where
into
did-
labor for the better part of a decade to
Oh, was
build
that-
the Death
Exactly.
Star.
Oh, that
Like
was
we
the
had the
explanation.
they had the Trade Federation with just in the prequels. The First Order is just like some random like Imperial remnant. I don't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they
it-
have like all new stuff somehow. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
For some reason, they were great.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
right.
that's another thing that I didn't get with the new one was Palpatine's fleet.
Oh,
Just-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Here.
It's the same thing.
I-
no infrastructure.
I saw that and he's just like, yes, take my dark fleet. And like, where?
Yeah, who are these
Where-
people? Who
where-
built the
are
ships?
they-
How'd he get all
See,
the officers?
where did you get these
Like-
ships? Are they shadow people? Did you
Yeah.
conjure
Yeah,
them
those
with
are the-
But
magic?
they're not. They're like actual humans.
they're
and
just-
Okay,
stormtroopers.
if they are real people, where did they come from?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is my least favorite part of the sequel trilogy. Is that what they're called? The sequels?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it completely negates the original trilogy and the prequels. It negates everything that Luke and Darth Vader ever did in the original.
Yes.
And it negates the entire Palpatine becoming senator, becoming chancellor. Like, it negates all of that because just like, oh, you can just get an entire army
Right.
of
Yeah.
Death Star ships
It's like, why-
from just by
Yeah,
hiding
that's
on one
the
planet.
worst part of the entire
Why do you do
Palpatine
that?
fleet is for some reason not only did he have all these Star Destroyers, they all had weapons on them as powerful as the Death Star.
It's like, what?
So they could blow up a planet. When I saw it hit, I was like, "Oh, it's just blowing up a few cities, cool." And then the whole planet exploded.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was a cannon.
That's the thing. Like when you give the movie 10,000 Death Stars, each one of those Death Stars has to be 10,000 times easier to destroy, so
the
that
original,
which
yeah,
is
exactly.
you just shoot the cannon, not even with proton torpedoes, just with the normal
Yeah, you're just
lasers,
shooting with
on a
lasers
ship.
and
Like it's not even a bomb.
So
It's-
I bet that the people who were making the movie thought that made it not as good as a Death Star, because the Death Star was, for
Right,
all intents
yeah.
and purposes, indestructible.
Right.
You had to hit a tiny little chute. But like these things, you just hit the cannon, it blows up. So it's not really a Death Star. But that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The point was that it's a gun that can blow up a planet on command, so people are supposed to be afraid of it.
yeah,
That's the point.
and you're not afraid of it if you can shoot one laser shot at it. from
And
your
if there's
X-wing,
100,000,
yeah.
it's not like, it's the Death Star. Like
Yeah.
it's like that.
And honestly, the biggest problem with that movie, from like a storytelling perspective, not from like a sequel or a trilogy perspective, is that they constantly invent problems and then immediately solve them.
Yes.
Like throughout the movie,
Yes.
they just like, here's a problem, here's a solution, here's another problem, here's a solution, and they just put
Yeah.
the characters in these situations where you don't. The stakes come and go so fast that you have no time to process or care.
Well,
Plus, the biggest issue is that you just don't care about any of the characters either.
Right. I mean,
Like,
with the
if-
exception of like Kylo and Rey, maybe.
Even
but, like,
then, like,
I think in the entire new trilogy, I've only cared about Kylo.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was funny in 7, and he killed the dude in 8, and I was like, that was pretty cool.
don't even get me
Yeah,
started about
Snoke.
Snoke.
Oh my god, we don't even talk about Snoke.
I create.
It's like a throwaway line in this next movie because it's like, all right, what did Ryan Johnson have planned for Snoke? Who fucking knows?
Killed,
Yeah.
Just killed him.
Just yeah.
We're gonna
Or
kill
what
him.
did JJ have planned for Snoke in 7?
Right.
Like we don't know. Like was Snoke supposed to be, Plagueis like some people thought, or was
Yeah.
he supposed to?
I saw someone with a cool theory that he was like either Plagueis' first apprentice or Palpatine's first apprentice.
Yeah.
Who they tried to kill and he lived because he had Plagueis' teachings and
Yeah, I mean,
was
that'd be
able to
cool.
hide.
Yeah,
and
that
that
would've
would
been cool.
that would
Really
somehow
interesting.
explain if they were so dead set on using the Force healing. That would also somehow explain that because, like Palpatine says, he learned how to cheat death using the dark side.
Right. So, Snoke
So
would know that.
if for some reason they needed to give Kylo the Force healing power, or if Rey's quote unquote fall to the dark side included that somehow, they could have been like, okay, it ties to Plagueis and all that. But
Yeah.
again, the world building is just so bad that they have no idea what they're doing.
Also, can we talk about the whole Rey getting called to the dark side? Like what?
It
Why?
lasted like 5 minutes.
Lead
And
to
that was
his
it.
own
Why?
thing.
I think
Also-
honestly what they should have done if they were intent on doing that is they should have had the first movie be more or less the same but with just better world building, and then the second movie would be like Rey's fall to the dark side and like actual transition to a Sith, and Kylo's sort of faltering and again like he's getting like called from Leia and whatever, and then there's like a role reversal. I feel like that'd be kind of
Right.
Yeah,
that
Kylo
would
becomes
be
a good guy
neat.
in 9.
Okay, that
But-
was.
But then people would complain that it's
Well, people would
so
never do that,
predictable
yeah.
because it's a Skywalker turning to the light side.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, I don't think they would do that too, because like kids get connected to characters in certain
Right.
ways, and like if you have like a kid who like really likes Rey and like all that, and then it's like, okay, now she's evil. Then that,
Well, I think that's the problem with it being a Disney thing.
Yeah, right.
Is as soon as you're Disney, you're on the kids' spotlight. Like no
Yeah.
one cared about Anakin. Anakin murdered a bunch
Yeah.
of kids in the
Oh,
prequels.
yeah.
Anakin
If
was
you got
a
attached
terrible
to the
person
cute
at the
little
end of
blonde
3.
kid in
Dude,
the first
remember when he
episode.
murdered the Tuscans? No,
Yeah,
he was a
yeah.
terrible person too.
Right.
That's true.
I mean, he killed all the women and the children
And the
too.
children. So if
He
you got
admitted it.
if you got into, but like kids, I don't know. I mean, it came out when we were younger, but like I never got like attached to them like as like a role model, I
Right.
guess, because I knew him. Like maybe Obi-Wan I got attached to because I thought he was cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like I never thought, oh, that's my role model. But I feel like some people would feel like that towards Rey as soon as
Yeah,
you
for
put
sure.
her like in Disney.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Disney is just too afraid to make those kind of moves because of the marketing implications.
Mhm.
I don't even know if it's Disney. I just think it wasn't very good.
Well,
I mean,
Perhaps.
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it
but
was
I think
Disney,
Disney
because
had a hand
they
in it.
weren't willing to take risks. Like
Yeah.
the MCU took risks. Other movies take risks.
MCU is Disney too.
Well, I think that
Yeah,
the
but,
main
like-
issue, the main issue again, is they have no like creative lead who's actually any good.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
I mean, Kevin Feige, how do you pronounce it?
Feige.
like the water.
Kevin.
That's Fiji.
We'll take off the eye.
But anyway, he has a very good like creative vision. And Kathleen Kennedy, the woman who's in charge of like the general creative direction for Star Wars, has consistently dropped the ball. I think Disney really just needs to find the right person to like lead
That
Star
could be
Wars
true.
as a main vision. I think honestly,
John Favreau.
yeah. I mean Dave Filoni, if you know who he is.
I don't.
He's the guy who was the director for pretty much every episode of Clone Wars.
Oh.
And he also was like the creative lead for The Mandalorian.
Ooh.
He didn't direct any episodes, I don't think, because he's never directed live action before.
Yeah, Jon Favreau did. That's why I said
Yeah.
him.
And Taika Waititi.
Maybe.
Yeah, he directed the last episode.
The last two, I think.
Yeah, there's the part with the
They were so cool.
the scout troopers.
Oh
I haven't
my
seen
god.
it.
Yeah, have you guys not seen
Spoil
it?
it.
Wait, you guys?
No way.
Dude, you guys haven't?
The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
I've seen it, but
Yo,
I'm gonna see
I have
it
not
though.
seen
Dude,
it.
the
I haven't
last
seen it.
episode. All right, we won't say anything about the last
Yeah, we won't say
episode.
anything.
But there's it starts with some scout troopers talking, and it's one of just the coolest.
yeah,
scenes.
it reminds me of like Red and Blue, honestly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of because it's just two soldiers just
Red
talking
versus
about
Blue, not Red and
I
Blue,
know what you
but
meant.
same thing.
red versus blue. Yeah, because
I gotta
just
get
two
it right
soldiers
for
just
the
talking.
podcast.
Oh,
Right.
Wow.
No, I've not
Breaking
seen
the fourth
Then
wall.
people
there,
can't
dangerous.
make fun of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually a little excited in 9 when I saw the direction that Rey was going with the dark side. I was like, there's a chance that Disney actually did something that was a little risky.
Yeah.
And I thought that the movie could have ended with Rey turning to the dark side and ending the trilogy on a dark note and making a double trilogy thing where the next trilogy is in
Yeah.
some way
That'd be
stopping
cool.
Rey. Like, could you imagine ending a trilogy on the Sith winning?
Yeah.
Like,
Or-
that would have been
That'd be
cool.
nuts. I mean,
Okay.
it'd be like Infinity War, where it's like, oh, Thanos just won.
Yeah,
like
it would be
Rey,
similar to that.
like Kylo redeems himself, but Rey like kills him, and then it's like now she's in command of the First Order, the Final Order, or whatever.
That'd
But
be cool.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it could have gone, but
I have actually I have one point on the ending, and there was something I was hoping for. I should have figured that it wasn't going to happen, but when Rey died, right, I was actually a little excited because I'm like, wait, okay. This entire time, right? They've been building it up, and just the way they even fight, like Kylo seemed just like a straight up like he felt way more like a Jedi than Rey ever did, right?
Yeah, for
Even in all of their fights, he was the one who was calm, collected, controlled, which is weird for somebody
That
who's
sounds like Kylo.
yeah, but like that's weird for somebody who follows the dark side, right? Like I've never seen like a Sith like fight that calmly before with a lightsaber, right?
yeah.
Dude, what fight scene are you talking about?
Like I'm
Specifically,
specifically talking about their one on like the water, like on the water world.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he's super calm and collected in that fight.
Yeah,
right?
throughout the whole 9th movie, he's kind of like.
He's pretty calm.
I think he's like. I don't know. Calm, yes, but
But
I
anyway.
didn't get like tranquil. I got like broody. Like he was almost like every fight, he's like thinking about something else.
yeah. I mean,
So,
He also completely wastes the what are those things? The edge guard things on
Yeah.
his,
I mean,
on
it's
his
just
lightsaber
like
by going
exhaust.
underhanded.
Yeah, I think it's,
yeah.
it's supposed to be like an exhaust port because it's like an older type of lightsaber. So I don't think it's necessarily meant to be like
I thought it
an
was
actual
supposed to be
hand
like
guard.
or
But, I mean, it's mostly just because they wanted to design a lightsaber that was cool
I mean,
on the
it does
posters
look
or whatever.
cool.
But
I do really like
onto my actual point.
Then he
so
just wastes it.
the whole movie to me, right? It felt like Kylo was like slowly moving more towards the light side, right? Like he was more.
Which I mean, he was.
It felt like he was, right? And
Yeah.
then at the end, I'm like, yo, okay, this could actually be a cool ending. Rey dies, and then Kylo's final redemption
Right.
is you are the last Jedi.
Well, that's the thing.
The
That's
rise of the
what I
last
thought.
Skywalker.
I thought
that
that
would have been
cool.
cool.
And he's actually a Skywalker.
He's actually
and
trained by
the thing
Luke.
is,
And he
all of a
knows-
yeah,
sudden,
he's trained by Luke.
and here's the
He
thing.
knows both sides.
Yes, that's the thing.
And
he's,
now-
he's balanced.
Well, think about this, right? All of a sudden, that is such a hard emotional beat because this is a guy who messed up hard, went
Yeah.
to the dark side, and now has to prove
Killed
that he is
his
better.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is now like a full redemption arc of like, yeah, guess what, buddy? Your job now. You are the last Jedi. Time to be better.
Right.
Time to make
And
time
the
to make
thing
things
is-
right. And that's hard.
Yeah.
He can't, but the thing is, he would be like the perfect guy to restart the Jedi Order or whatever because he wouldn't create Siths. Like a lot of Jedi with their whole like purity thing end up creating Siths,
Right.
like Anakin, like Kylo. But like he wouldn't because he knows what it's like. So he
I
can
mean, that's
teach
another
people
thing that I really
correctly.
think they messed up with Luke is pretty much everything Luke does is just so out of character for him. Like
Yeah, it's so
Luke
true.
Skywalker in Episode 6 is so good at like being diplomatic, and he gives his father a second chance, even though he's literally Darth Vader.
Yeah, he's
till the
standing
last
next
second.
to Darth
He
Vader.
tries to talk
And
down
talking with-
Palpatine.
Yeah, literally to the last moment, he's talking to his father and trying to redeem him, and it works. And like that's Luke's character arc in 6. And then he's like, I saw a vision of my nephew as the leader of the Knights of Ren or whatever, so I'm not gonna murder him.
There is a lot of time between 6 and 7, though.
See,
right?
okay,
Yeah, but,
people
I mean,
say
still.
that, but then the question is, what happened in that
Yeah.
time that changed
Then we
it.
do need
Right,
to know.
and they never tell
Right.
you. And then he, runs away and secludes himself on an island,
That's
which
not
again
what he
is
would do.
pretty out of character. And then when he knows that like Leia and Chewbacca are in trouble on Crate and they're stuck in that cave, there's no way he wouldn't go himself to like save his sister. That's what he did in Episode 5 when he left
When he
training
should've been
with
training,
Yoda.
yeah.
Right.
And Yoda said, "No, you can't go. It's a trap." And he's like, "But I have to save my friends." Like,
I mean, that's
literally, they're
basically what he-
backed up against the wall, and then he just sends a force projection and then dies.
That's basically what he did in 4 too.
Yeah.
He leaves
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
That's what
to
he.
go help
That's
them.
what.
That's
he
what he does.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of stuff about the recent Star Wars since all the contracts are done. So obviously a lot of John Boyega, which
Yeah.
I'll get into. But I watched some Mark Hamill stuff. Although his was about Episode 7 and 8. This was before Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was reading the scripts and he hated Luke. He's like, I forget what he calls him, but he doesn't call him Luke in interviews. He calls him like Fred Skywalker or something.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Frank. I think it was Frank.
Yeah,
Frank Skywalker.
something like that.
Man.
Yeah, it's like a different character. I mean,
Right,
even
because
the
it
actor who
is.
plays it, like Mark Hamill, is literally Luke Skywalker. He's been Luke
he read
Skywalker
it and
for
he's
40
like,
years.
This
and,
is
like,
not Luke.
Yeah.
And I remember he was talking about the 7th movie, and I just found this funny because he mentioned something that made me think like how the whole series could be better. When he was told he was doing the 7th movie, he like got in shape and everything because he didn't know what his role was. They just said Star Wars coming
Right.
back, suit up. And then he learned, I just turn around in the end. But he only learned this because he reads through the whole thing just to get a sense of the movie. And I remember him saying he thought that Luke, because he loved the whole Luke is missing, what's going to happen, where is he? He thought he was going to come back in the fight in the woods. When Kylo cuts down Finn, the lightsaber drops and it shakes and flies up. He thought he was going to grab it
That'd
and
that'd
fight
be cool.
Kylo Ren
That'd
in
be
the
cool.
woods.
Oh, that would be
Damn.
How cool would that be? Instead of just turning around, like
Yeah.
you just see Luke grab the lightsaber and
That's even literally even the
like
part.
and him like whisking them away, like, all right, time to train you
Yeah,
now.
it's
Right.
it's so like blatantly obvious too. That reminded me of it when Luke gets the lightsaber at the end of 7. When 8 opens, he just throws it away. He tosses it over his shoulder and just walks away. And then in 9, when he catches the lightsaber as like a Force ghost
Right.
and walks up to Rey and he's like, "This weapon deserves more respect." That's literally J.J. Abrams just taking a dump on Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson's face.
oh, 100%.
Like, I think I've heard it before that J.J. Abrams can be a bit like spiteful towards other directors who've like worked on stuff that he's working on.
I mean, I don't have to hear that I saw.
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And there's just so many times in 9 where it's so obvious that he's just pissing on 8 and destroying everything it worked to build. Not that 8 worked to build very much,
Yeah,
but everything
okay.
that it did, like literally, it's like, okay, Luke doesn't care about his lightsaber, and then he respects it a lot, and then Rey's parents weren't important. Ooh, but his grandpa was. He was Palpatine, and it's
Right.
like,
So okay, to be honest though, I really wanted that. I can't verbalize how strongly I dislike 8 and wish it wasn't a
Yeah.
thing. And 9 made 8 not a thing, which I know a lot
Yeah,
of people
essentially.
didn't like because it's like you can't just negate something that happened. I'm like, but 8 kind of did. Like it killed Snoke. It just said, "Oh, your parents don't matter," despite the fact that
Yeah.
that was clearly.
I mean,
a
that's
thing.
the whole problem with the trilogy again, is that like there's just no vision, and the
Yeah.
directors are fighting with each other, and it's like, I'm gonna destroy everything that JJ worked on in 7, and then I'm gonna destroy everything that Ryan Johnson worked on in 8, and it just doesn't flow.
Right, because
like,
nothing happens.
If you watch each movie individually, it's fine. I guess 8
okay.
8 is definitely the worst standalone of any of them, but like as a trilogy, it's a bad trilogy.
yes,
Yes.
none of it flows.
Yeah, and 8, we do talk about how the character development throughout the entire trilogy is bad.
Yeah.
And it is. But in 8, you do see that they were trying to build some character with Rose and Finn
Right.
in their entire side arc, which I thought was a terrible side arc.
Yeah.
But you
Yes.
saw what they were trying to do. And then in 9, they simply throw that out the window
Yeah, I
so
mean,
that Finn
Rose-
can be force sensitive.
Rose
Like,
has literally
does nothing in 9.
1 minute
Oh,
and
yeah.
30 seconds of screen time, and they said that it was because she was in so many scenes with Leia that they couldn't figure out how to edit it.
Yeah,
But you know that's not true.
not true.
If you have a character that's important to the story, you will put them in the story.
Yeah.
And it's so clear. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, I mean,
Rose
half
is just
those
such a
guys
bad
are CGI
character.
monsters.
Yeah.
So I think they can put a CGI Leia in.
the thing is they wrote Rose to be such a poor character in 8, but I do think it's still a little bit unfair of them to not try to write the ship and actually give her a decent character arc if they're gonna put her in that movie so
Yeah,
heavily.
because I mean, half of 8 is dedicated to her.
Yeah.
And they
I
made
thought-
Jar Jar important in the prequel by like giving Chancellor Palpatine power.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like at least he did something.
Yeah.
Yo, Shadow. I thought Rose. That was her name, right?
Yeah.
Rose Tico.
Yeah, I thought she died in 8.
Well, because she crashed the.
Yeah.
Maybe she
Oh,
should
yeah.
have. You know.
I was
maybe.
confused.
That
I'm like,
would've
oh, I
been
guess she's dead
interesting.
now.
The
And then
other-
she
the other
showed
thing
up.
is
Then
they-
she showed up at 9. I'm like,
Aside
oh.
from Rose, I think
Alright.
Finn too. They just completely wasted.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
about to say
Finn
that.
should have been such a cool character. He's
Okay.
a force-sensitive stormtrooper
I've
who.
been thinking about this so much.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I was watching, like I said, I've been watching a lot of Star Wars stuff, and a lot of people were saying like, "Oh man, I wanted Finn to be the next Jedi." You know, like, can you imagine a stormtrooper becoming a Jedi? I'm like,
yeah, it'd be sick.
I'm like, that's cool, but I wanted to one up and say, don't make him a Jedi. Make him like, what's the dude with the hat and the, you know, like, make him a Jedi hunter, but he hunts Kylo Ren.
Yeah, yeah,
So he doesn't use a lightsaber. He just uses the stuff that he's been trained with.
yeah.
But like, he can be force sensitive. That doesn't matter. So you still have Rey be the Jedi, but you have him be like a helper, but who's just awesome, like
Mm-hmm.
bounty hunter levels, fighting Kylo Ren.
I mean,
think that
also
would be
even
so cool.
aside from like his
Interesting.
power differences, like how he's pretty much just a guy running around in a jacket with a gun.
Yeah,
They just
Yes.
don't give him anything to do that's actually important. Like the meme right now is that, you know, in literally every movie he just runs around and it goes,
Screams Ren.
Rey!
which is pretty much true. It's like,
Yeah, it kind of is.
and I mean,
Yo, he looks so bored. in 9.
yeah,
So-
he should have been such a good character.
It's a similar issue with Poe too. Like, I know he was technically the leader, but like,
Yeah.
he never really did
Doesn't feel
anything.
like
No, he's kind of just
Yeah, I feel
the
like it.
Yeah.
He's just a
the
dude.
quirky pilot. Like,
I think he
you
should.
know,
He probably
Diet
should have
Han
stayed
Solo.
the quirky pilot.
yeah,
Not gonna lie.
he's just diet Han Solo.
He was
with no
he was too
plot.
heavily featured too.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
it's because I think they wanted him to be like, you know, they wanted like the trio.
yeah,
Like Star Wars movies have a trio.
Yeah.
Usually, but like, he just never felt like one to me. Like he always felt kind of like an outside character who just helped. He felt more like Lando. You know.
Honestly, somehow they should have tried to make that Rose. Like, they would have had to fix her character, but she made more sense from a storytelling
maybe.
standpoint than Poe did, in my opinion.
Maybe in episode 8, but in 7,
in
Then-
I
seven,
yeah,
thought
that-
they were doing
yeah,
good together.
That's
in
true.
7 Poe was good. I mean, Poe and Finn's story in 7 is pretty convincing.
That's pretty
Like,
solid.
I just want.
But then there's like not enough Poe in 8 to.
Well, Poe in 8 literally just complains about the orders from his commander. Like,
Yeah.
And then does
Exactly.
the dumb things.
Yeah.
And she's like, Poe, what are you doing?
and it's like you realize that you're lower in the chain of command. You don't get to like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not how it works. You know.
I thought you were a professional soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
The most jarring part of 9 for me, like, it was just, I was sitting in the seat at the theater and I was just like, what is going on?
It was the
Was
stage show.
when we're at the Resistance base and we just heard about Palpatine, and then what's his name?
Poe?
Poe just gets up and he's like, "Okay, guys, Palpatine is back." And you're like, "Okay, it sounds like you're breaking the fourth wall here, because why does this guy Poe know about
Yeah.
who
Well,
Palpatine
okay. I have a fun
is?"
fact
and, like,
about that too.
Like,
So you know how they mention that Palpatine sent out like a transmission across the galaxy?
Yes.
Right.
With his evil space
They
wizard
they
powers.
mention that transmission and they're like, he sent out this message, but they don't play it in the movie.
You know
But you know
what
where
it
they
is,
do play it
Where?
is an in-game event in your favorite video
No,
game,
please don't say it.
Fortnite,
Really?
and it's canon. The
Oh
speech that
my
Palpatine
God.
gave
'Cause I know
in
it was on
Fortnite is canon,
Oh
and they don't play it in the movie.
My God. Is it our boy, actual actor boy?
I'm pretty sure it is.
The,
Oh
the
my
transmission is literally
Where we
just him
dropping?
saying, "Do it."
Yeah.
Just
Where we
across the
dropping?
galaxy.
Get the towers? Do it.
Do it.
Oh my god.
And like they just, it's like, Palpatine's back.
Yeah.
Palpatine's back.
it was
But it's so dumb because
jarring.
Palpatine's whole thing. They ruined Palpatine's character too. Even
yes.
if he hadn't died, Palpatine's whole thing is that he's manipulative and he's a political genius and
Yes.
he's very cunning.
He's not
like
some brute forcer.
Yeah, he was literally a senator, and then he worked his way up to being
Mm-hmm.
chancellor, and then gave himself emergency powers, and then gained control of the Republic.
Right.
And he was very calculating. And in this one, he literally is like, "Oh, I have a fleet. Oh, I told everyone I'm here. I can't take off without this comm tower.
I can
And
shoot lightning
I
and hit
can-
every ship in 1 billion miles.
Oh, yeah, right.
That was, you were saying the most jarring part for you was that. The most jarring part for me, it literally made me laugh out loud in the movie, was then he just looks up And it's just so deep. It's so deep fried. Like, you throw some red eyes on him, like glowing red eyes, and it's literally a deep fried meat.
Also, he spent the whole movie trying to get Rey there so that she would like join him, and then when she doesn't, he's like, "All right, fine, whatever."
Just take your soul.
Well, I think it's because he didn't realize that he could just do what he wanted anyway.
Like, how does he not realize that? Like,
Okay.
Yeah, he has this fleet. He can just
if there's
do
anything
whatever.
I know about Palpatine, it's that he's not very
He's
smart.
not smart.
Okay, I'll be honest. I actually really like Palpatine in this film, but for a very different reason. Now, see, I think what they did was they read like the Cliff Notes like meme version of Palpatine.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
then
so if
just
you
ran
look
it.
at it from that angle, oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because Kylo just shows up with this planet and he like comes down his robot thing. He's like, I'm still alive.
And he says the one line from the prequels,
Yeah.
and then the next scene he's in, he just uses unlimited power on every ship.
He's just
I
like,
know.
you must
Also,
do
one of the things
this."
that I noticed, I saw a meme about it on Reddit. It was like, what happens when Rey accidentally uses a tiny blast of lightning and it's that transport literally exploding.
Yeah.
And then it's like when Palpatine unleashes the power of Zeus, and it's like an X-wing that has like
EMP.
shut down, falling out of the sky. Oh, but then the lightning
We're
goes
falling
away
right
and it's
out of the
fine.
sky.
And it's like,
Actually, it's because he split up the lightning to hit multiple targets.
sure.
Okay, shout out to just the fact that Rey can somehow use Force lightning, even though like even for like Sith, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah,
I mean, she's supposed to be.
Well, it's I guess it's because she's a Palpatine,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
I
that's
guess,
why he
but,
has
like-
the stab attack.
But like, how many Sith have actually been able to like do that?
I mean,
though?
Dooku and
Dooku
Palpatine,
And that's
as far
like-
as what's canon now.
Yeah, that's about it.
But I think Vader couldn't because he had the mechanical suit.
Yeah, it was
And-
only because of the suit.
He
and
probably could
Maul
have
didn't
learned
'cause-
Yeah.
Although,
Who knows?
shout out to on the topic of Vader, shout out to Rogue One for making Vader legitimately
Yeah.
terrifying. Like the
Oh my god.
Yeah,
That
that
was-
hallway sequence is one of
Best
the best
scene.
That's
One
so
of the
cinematic
best.
sequences.
because he
of
went
Star
from
Wars.
like I am Darth Vader to like one of the most legitimately terrifying, like one of the most terrifying things I've ever
Because
seen in
yeah.
Star Wars.
that's
Like
what he's
it was-
supposed to
Oh my
be.
god, it was so scary.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and you could
saw-
tell he was having fun.
Yeah.
That was the best
Yeah.
part.
Or, like, they,
Is
like,
he was
shut
just
the
like,
Because the dude on
I'm
the
mad
ceiling-
and I'm just gonna mess these guys up.
That's the
Well,
thing.
I
Like
can't.
that's what Vader's supposed to be. Like the Empire
God,
to most
yes.
normal people is just like a government. But then if you really fuck up, they send this guy at
And
you
he's like,
who is
And
just
it's
like,
I-
death incarnate.
He's
Yeah.
murdered children,
Yeah.
sand people, like an
Okay.
entire temple. Like
Yeah.
Entire culture. He just
I like,
wiped out.
I like specifically in Rogue One. They're like, all right, just launch the ship, get it to go. They're like putting up like walls, and then like, okay, the wall's up.
Yeah, the guy's like, launch, and then he just gets murdered.
Go.
Yeah, the whole,
I think like the last thing they see is like the last thing they see is like that like him like backing up and then just getting like a lightsaber going through the door like 4 times or something.
Okay,
Or something
so
right?
so here's the thing. I
Oh my
was
God,
not a
it's
huge
great.
fan of Rogue One, just in general.
You
Just
were
in
or
terms-
weren't?
I was not, just because of like
Yeah.
the characters. I didn't really like them.
Oh, I thought
the
it was
plot
great.
was meh, but I love that ending. It's probably my favorite scene in all of Star Wars. And I got so giddy from it, I forgot that it's like a direct connection to 4. I legit thought this man was about to. The part where it peels away, and he's just standing on the brink of like the
Yeah,
hole.
yeah,
I
yeah.
legit thought he was about to jump into space after it. I was so giddy from it.
Yeah.
because he's got his
Yeah,
breathing
he can
thing.
survive in space.
So like he had his lightsaber, he was standing at the edge. I thought he was about to like swan dive
be
into
insane.
space and just latch onto the top.
Well, that's not what happens in 4.
That's
So.
what I'm saying. I
That'd be
forgot.
so surreal.
I forgot that they were like
Yeah.
connected, and I really thought I was so
That'd be insane.
giddy.
But okay, so going back to 9, you mentioned
Alright.
the whole Palpatine thing, the whole Rey Palpatine. At the end of the movie, when Rey says that her last name is Skywalker,
Yep.
okay, so the whole point of Leia in that movie is that she's telling Rey to be herself. And obviously it's just because they had to use the clips they had of Carrie Fisher, and it's like,
Right.
that's the only stuff that was really salvageable because she wasn't around for pretty much any of the actual filming of 9.
Right.
But all of her clips are inspiring Rey to be herself and not be afraid of who she is, which is a Palpatine. Like
Yeah.
you can be a Palpatine. You can retake that name
And make it
without
good.
and make it good without being a Sith, obviously. So, if they're gonna continue with the story they had with Rey, and have her say at the end that her last name is Skywalker, it's like that's completely not the point of what Leia told you the whole movie. It's like, don't be afraid of who you are. You're a Palpatine. Retake that. Show the galaxy why it's good. Like, why a Palpatine can redeem themselves.
Yeah. Luke straight up told her that.
Yeah. And it's like, your last name doesn't define who you are. Oh, but this old lady in the desert, make sure to tell her that your last name is Skywalker so that we can end the movie. And it's like,
and so we can, put up the clickbait thumbnail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And also, with the whole Rey Palpatine thing, oh my goodness. In no case have we ever seen Force sensitivity skip a generation. So why was Palpatine's son, which of course he was able to have over the course of time for some reason.
Dude, Palpatine fucks.
Yeah, clearly he pulled.
I did see a picture of like someone who might have been his wife at some point, like a character from Star Wars. She's pretty intense looking.
Somehow.
Well, the thing is, like,
why wasn't
I know
his son Force sensitive and powerful?
Yeah, that's the thing, because Palpatine's son presumably would have been born right around the end of the Clone Wars. If the timeline makes sense there.
Yeah, because I guess
he looked like he was about
He
looked like he was about 40 when that guy killed him in the flashback, and Rey at that point was like 5.
Right. What's the difference between 3 and 4? The time difference?
15 years.
Okay.
That's 15 years.
15 years.
15 years.
It's only 15 years. Really?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's around 20.
Wait, no, that means 15. That means Luke's 15.
Oh no,
because
Luke is 19.
Yeah, I think it's 20 years.
So
that seems more.
Give or take 20 years.
Still, that's only 20
anyway, so
years.
the sequel or the original trilogy takes place over what, like 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
Around there.
So that would be 24 years, and then at that point, in the sequels, I think Rey is in her mid-20s, maybe.
I'd see that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The Palpatine's son must have been born sort of around the time of the end of the Clone Wars beginning.
Yeah, it would have had to then. And
so
how is this person
maybe
in no way interesting?
My point is that maybe he had sex before he looked like a scrotum.
Well, yeah, I'm really not too upset with him having sex.
Yeah, I know.
The problem is that somehow...
Furious that Palpatine has sex.
No.
I'm not getting it, but Palpatine is.
That's what I'm saying.
No. We have seen his ability to just conjure up fleets of starships and ghost soldiers. I think he just conjured up a waifu for himself.
Probably.
I think that's.
But either way, his son should have done something.
Dude was a senator. He just it was probably just a prostitute or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Political move.
Anyway, Andy is right.
I mean,
like the Force has not been known to skip a generation. Like that's not really something.
Like somehow Rey is just the most powerful being next to Palpatine, but somehow in between there was nothing of interest
and
to ever talk about.
Why does the Force follow generation stuff?
Like, why is it tied to your bloodline?
Midichlorians.
No.
So originally, it was just supposed to be like your bloodline, I guess, because Luke was super strong,
right? Yeah.
Because Darth Vader was strong. I think it's just a genetic thing. Like if your dad is an Olympic athlete, you're probably going to be in good shape.
Right.
I just like it that the Jedi are like, if we have offspring, they're really strong. Maybe we should do that.
Maybe we should all.
Maybe we should just not do
celibate.
Yeah, so we don't make any uber powerful.
The thing is, though, like I feel like most Jedi probably smash anyway.
I
mean, Obi-Wan does, Anakin does.
Yeah, Duchess Satine.
Let's
be honest.
Let's be real,
dude.
like,
Obi-Wan.
Remember when
Obi-Wan pulls?
Is Duchess Satine the conehead dude?
That's Kiadi Mundi. Kiadi Mundi pulls too, though. He had like 7 wives.
He pulled!
Yeah, Kiadi Mundi.
Oh, okay.
Kiadi Mundi had 7 wives.
He just didn't feel
once.
Yeah, exactly. That's canon.
That is canon.
Really? Oh my god.
No, but Obi-Wan hooked up with the Duchess of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Yes. Was that back when he was like a trainee? Like,
I think.
Could you imagine that kid, son of Obi-Wan and a Mandalorian?
Yo,
oh my god,
that kid would be unstoppable.
Yeah. I mean, I think Satine, because Satine's sister was Bo-Katan, who's like a Mandalorian warrior, right?
Wow.
So I mean, that kid would have been pretty epic.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you don't become Queen of Mandalore without being awesome.
Yeah.
Or whatever she is, Senator of Mandalore, High
Duchess.
Chancellor.
Duchess.
I love that she devotes her life to peace, but like she is still one of the most intense people like in the show. I think Mandalorian.
Honestly, that
intense.
Okay, so we're for the podcast.
She's like, I might be a peace lover, but I will shake you in your sleep.
Yeah. I'm gonna address the audience here. How's it going, guys? We're watching Clone Wars right now. Steve hasn't seen it. So we're trying to get caught up on that. So
Seen Satine.
won't do too many
I've seen Satine.
spoilerinos there.
Yeah, well, okay. We won't.
Well, I know what
I
happens.
have not
to her.
actually seen the very last season.
Really?
I watched like the first episode.
The
I was
new
like,
season,
Ahsoka's
season
like-
7 comes out on February 17th.
Oh yeah, I'm actually very excited for that.
Yeah, same.
I'm excited.
It doesn't look quite as good as
Yeah,
the
I'm
animation.
not
but,
seeing anything that is going to be as good as some of the.
I mean, even the
just
animation,
killer
like it
arcs
just seems like the budget is a
from
lot
the
lower.
glory days of Clone Wars.
Well, that's
Yeah.
fine. Though.
Yeah, but it's
we're
gonna
still getting
tie
our
some
ending.
stuff up. I'm sure.
The
I'm excited to see how Ahsoka. Well, do you care about Rebels spoilers?
Rebels. No.
I do
Okay.
kind of want to see Rebels. I
I'm
haven't
watching
seen it
Rebels
yet.
now. I haven't
So
seen
then
season
don't
4.
Well, you
spoil
know-
it then.
All right. I mean, do you know what happens to Ahsoka? with
Yeah.
Stuff? All right. Cool. I'm excited to see how they do that because they already wrote down what happened. I just want to see it like actually play out.
I mean, isn't there like a comic about it? Because I remember at the end of season 5, I think she walks away from the Jedi Order.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is also kind of why I didn't really watch 6. It's like, well, this
Yeah.
isn't the same.
But I mean, the thing is, like
there was good arcs in there that I missed though, and I'm kind of mad about that.
Yeah.
That was the one where, because like everyone thought that she did something wrong, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
thought
the
that she
whole
like
thing with-
bombed a hangar,
And she's
Right,
just
but
like,
it was
well,
that
this
other
is
chick that
hot
Anakin beat up.
garbage. I didn't do
Yeah.
anything.
and then she like messes around the underworld a little bit, and then. But anyway, I mean that's why she survives Order 66 is because she's not actually a Jedi.
Well, I think what
Which
I
is
remember
cool.
correctly, it was because she was participating in a battle as like a
Yeah.
Jedi coming back,
Yeah.
and then Rex figured out about the chips,
Right.
and he had gotten his
Hey, hey.
removed.
No
Yeah.
Clone Wars spoiler. No, I'm
This
just
is-
kidding.
Yeah.
So he had done that, and then he, if I remember right, he faked his death and her death to get them both out.
Is that
of
in the
there.
comics or something?
I
'Cause
think
haven't-
so. I think that's how they. That's what I've seen. That's how it like plays out.
Yeah.
Listen,
I think it's from the comics.
I've seen a little bit of Clone Wars, and I noticed that Ahsoka is not very cautious with her clone soldiers.
yeah.
The real reason she survived Order 66 is because she got her whole squad killed before they
Yeah.
could
I
turn.
love that. Literally, they'll go into a space battle, and Ahsoka's whole squad will die, and then she's like,
She's like, oops.
I don't know why you're mad at me, Anakin.
Sorry,
like, it's not my
Master.
bad.
Sorry, I guess
I
I'll pull
came back
back
with
now.
3 out of 10.
That's what they're there
bombers.
for.
Stop calling
Yeah,
me
but I mean, there's still.
No, I mean that's her thought process. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
She does get a lot better, I think, as the series.
Oh yeah, I mean
Like,
everyone does.
After,
Eventually-
after like
Eventually-
once she goes through like the time skip like difference, like she's so much better as a character.
yeah, once she stops calling Anakin Sky Guy.
Yeah, when she stops being an actual child in a war zone,
Yeah.
yeah, then she's a little better. Then
Oh
she,
yeah, man! Can we talk about how epic Obi-Wan is in Clone Wars, though?
Yeah.
There's the one, I forget which episode it's from, but where he's confronting Dooku, and Dooku says, without ugliness in the world, there'd be no beauty. And then Obi-Wan says, "Thanks for your sacrifice." And I'm like, "Damn, bro, you just murdered."
I saw this
Dooku."
thing on it was like a Twitter poll, and it was who's your favorite Obi-Wan? And the 3 options were Ewan McGregor, Alec Guinness, and Clone Wars. And the guy who voice acted him in Clone Wars, I don't know what his name is, which makes it even worse. But
It is pretty funny.
it says like Ewan McGregor, Alec Guinness, and Clone Wars, and he tweets out, "Hey, thanks for calling me Clone Wars." It's like
wait, who is the second guy? I don't remember.
Alec Guinness. He
Yeah,
played him in the
He's
original
old
trilogy.
man Obi-Wan.
Ah,
He's like
Ben.
original Obi-Wan.
ooh,
Okay.
that's a bit of a toss-up.
I will say my
because
favorite
Ian McGregor
thing-
was pretty great.
I will say my favorite thing is the fact that they kept all of his mannerisms for Obi-Wan.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the whole like this thing, like how he thinks before everything. Like
Ewan McGregor did a great
Ewan
job
McGregor
of
nailed it, and then they-
understanding what Alec Guinness was.
and then they animate it in the Clone Wars, so he has like
Yeah.
the same thing. It's awesome. I
Obi-Wan
love
in the
that.
Clone Wars is like the perfect amount of like snarky, but it's like still really like funny and like you can
Yeah.
tell he's like
He's
joking and stuff.
so
he's
well written.
such a good character.
yeah, he doesn't come off as pretentious
I mean,
at all.
Anakin is really good in the Clone Wars too. Like,
Yeah,
He's
Ana-
not. Well, he's
Anakin
not
because he's a force.
yeah, the Clone Wars makes you feel so bad about Episode
Yeah.
3.
It's like,
I mean that's the
He
point.
could be so much
Yeah.
better.
But that's the thing. Like, if the script writing had been better, if George Lucas hadn't tried to write the scripts for the prequels, you would like the impact of Order 66 and all that would have been like so much more. Like when you see Plo Koon get shot down out of his ship.
If
After
you
watching the
wa-
Clone Wars,
yeah.
that just—it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, after you watch the
man.
Clone Wars, like Episode 3 is a lot sadder.
Yeah.
yeah,
like,
man.
Plo Koon getting
Because I
shot.
remember
Oh my
watching
God.
3 with my family before they had seen much of Clone Wars at all.
Yeah.
And like me and my sister, who had been watching Clone Wars, see Plo Koon get shot down, and we're both like, ah!
I know, it's so
and the
sad.
rest of my family was just like, what?
It's
And
just
we're
some
like,
guy,
That
but it's
guy!
like-
He was great!
I like the part where
Remember
they
Kid
shoot
Fist?
Kiadi Mundi, and he's like flailing his arms all around. It's like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got like there was like 20 guys like
Yeah.
firing.
Yeah,
at
Except
him.
your death with some honor.
yeah,
Jeez.
come on.
Wasn't there also like and then Kit Fisto, who is amazing in the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
like the
Well,
chillest man
okay,
ever.
so
And he
apparently-
don't even talk to me about the stupid screech. No, we're not talking.
No, I'm not going to talk about the screech.
Force
I'm
screech
going to
used
talk
to
about
disorient
the
your
real.
opponents?
The real reason was in the novelization.
Oh,
That
yeah,
fight
the novelization
is like really good.
The fight is good.
Force
But
screech.
they couldn't
They couldn't
film
do
it because Ian McDiarmid is too old,
Yeah.
so he couldn't do the choreography for the fight. So they're like, "All right, we're just gonna spin you around and have you yell, and then you stab them."
Because like then you look at the Clone Wars, like this guy against like
Oh, stop.
against.
Oh, yeah, the
That is
Maul.
my
Oh my
favorite
god! It was such.
lightsaber duel.
He just like shows up like, well, you're supposed to be dead. Let's
Yeah.
fix that. And he's just the. Oh my! In that scene, he was
Let's become
so
a rival.
creepy, so unsettling.
He's
I would
like a
say
shadow
terrifying.
dude. He fights like
Oh
a
my God,
ghost. He's
so
awesome.
scary.
I would say probably the Anakin Obi-Wan fight at the end of 3 is the best live-action lightsaber
Yes.
fight, but the best animated fight is definitely that one.
Definitely.
Like you just
Well-
see Sidious in his full power. Like,
Yes,
it's
that
insane.
one's very good. I would say the only one that comes close,
either.
and it's entirely for story reasons, is the final Obi-Wan versus Maul.
Oh yeah.
Because that,
I mean,
Well-
it's well done, but it's not.
it's
the
not
same.
it's not a spectacle, but
Yeah.
it's nonetheless, I'd say, like a really.
It's probably
good
more
fight.
like emotionally satisfying.
Yes, I
My-
would
In
say
terms
it's a
of
lot.
like choreography,
Yes.
it's hard to beat.
If you want to go spectacle, I'd say Sidious and Maul are probably
Yeah.
one of the greatest lightsaber fights ever. But like emotional wise, like Obi-Wan Darth Maul final fight is
Honestly,
still
my
amazing.
issue with that episode is that they don't give enough time for it to be like somber, and really let Maul and Obi-Wan take center stage. Because Ezra has to be there.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't-
spitting out stupid ass one-liners
Oh, yeah,
and
I
being
didn't- I
a
didn't
dumb
watch-
little kid.
Yeah, I didn't watch
And
the episode. I just watched that one.
Every
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single that's the problem with the show.
that scene in like a vacuum is amazing.
Yeah, that scene on
Yeah.
Just cut away
YouTube,
everything
a
else.
minute and 13 seconds
Yes.
long, is perfect.
That honestly is my
Perfect.
problem with Rebels is that every time there's a serious situation and it's like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that you would see in Clone Wars. Like this is intense. The characters are actually dealing with problems. Stupid ass Ezra comes in.
That's the kid, right?
That's the kid,
Yeah.
and he
With the
and the
slingshot.
droid Chopper, the stupid astromech with the little arms on the side of
know
his
that
head,
is.
runs in, and they're all like, "Ooh!" And it's like an episode of of like the Three Stooges. They're all just like bumping around and like saying stupid shit, and it's like, all right, now I'm not taking this serious anymore. Like,
That's such a great dynamic of like people having serious
Yeah.
emotional problems.
Ezra, not now,
and then
but I
these
can make
kids
the
kick
plot
in the
line.
door, like, just start playing music.
yeah, I
That's
don't
what
know.
happens when you invite a
Get it,
party.
haha, funny for the little kid.
Yeah.
Like Ahsoka's being haunted by Anakin becoming
As-
Darth Vader, and then like this kid just runs.
Yeah,
towards
literally,
her.
that's what happens. Ahsoka
Does it
sees
happen?
Ahsoka cut. Have you seen that fight scene?
I've seen Ahsoka
I'm just-
and Darth Vader.
Yeah,
thing,
okay.
But I don't know
So,
what happens after.
Ahsoka. Well, this isn't going to be much of a spoiler because I don't think they tell you in the show what happens. But
Yeah, yeah.
Ahsoka cuts open the mask and sees Anakin's face.
Right, yeah, I've seen
and,
that
And he
image.
goes like, Ahsoka? And she turns around and is like, I'm not going to leave you, not this time, or whatever. And then the pyramid that they're in closes or whatever, and you like hear them fighting. And then it cuts to Ezra, and he's like, "We got to get to the ship!" Whoa! And it's like I can't believe they would do that. Like they just had such a powerful moment.
I like when you were talking about it. All I could imagine is like she's just like Anakin, and in the background is just fucking Ezra with like a big drum, just like.
Yeah.
It's
See,
like, we gotta go.
I've seen that like clip on YouTube, and I just assumed it was like a vision or something. I didn't realize it was real.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's insane the way they treat that show. But I mean, okay.
It's yeah.
Going back to 9, I think we pretty much said
Oh, yeah.
all we need to about why we don't like it.
I loved Palpatine's conjuring powers. I thought they were hilarious.
It's just so
Hello,
nothing.
Okay, but to say something good about it again, most of my problems with it are problems with the trilogy as a whole,
Right.
and 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I broke it down to like things I wanted to see, which is Rey do actual training, which is implied to have happened with Leia,
Yeah.
who we know is a Jedi now. Something good for
Yes.
Luke, which he was kind of a cool Force ghost.
Yeah.
Treat this with
I wanted to see good Kylo Ren, and I got to see that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I wanted.
See, one of the disappointing things about the Force Ghost, though, was apparently they brought in a bunch of the other actors.
Oh, I heard
and
that.
then they cut it. Like, they had Anakin, they had Obi-Wan, they had
all the voices.
Yeah, they had Mace Windu.
They had
like
Ahsoka.
they had all these
They had
people that they were.
Ahsoka was in there.
Yeah, I think I'm not positive, but like, I mean, not. I don't think they had actors for the animated characters, but
No, they did.
well, for the voices. But
Yeah, for the
they
voices,
didn't like
sorry.
film because they were gonna put like more people with.
I'm so sad that it was just voices calling
Yeah.
out. Like I would have, oh my god, I would have liked it if like the actual Force Ghost had showed up and like, come on, Ray, get up,
form a
and like,
circle.
yeah, and they're like, or like even like picking her up, like.
Well, what they could have
motivating her.
done is they could have had the Force Ghosts rise because like the Coliseum seating.
Right.
So they could have the Force Ghosts like rise in the Coliseum seating, and then all the Sith
Take a
apparitions like disappear and take a seat. That would have been sick. That would
Were
have been
those,
like, such a
were those
spectacle.
apparitions?
Yeah, that wasn't real.
Probably. I mean, they may have been like acolytes or something.
I think Sidious was just conjuring up people.
Oh,
think
I just thought it was supposed to be like the spirits of the Sith.
Yeah, I don't know. They
well-
never explain it.
Well,
Right? They never
that's
explain it.
what I assumed the ships were powered by.
Okay, I will say
Yeah.
I didn't
Evil
really
Sith
like. It was interesting, but I didn't like the whole spirit of the Sith thing.
Yeah.
Because like the whole point is that Sith are like
They don't get along. And
right.
it's
They're
like,
supposed to be like their own person,
Yeah.
and that's why they always end up killing each other.
Even so, I didn't even like the Spirit of the Jedi thing. Just think of how hard it was for them to discover communicating with Force Ghosts. Like,
Right.
it was Obi-Wan pioneering
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon Jinn. That was that whole following through. And for some
Right.
reason now Rey, who has no understanding of anything, can be channeled through by all these other
Well,
Jedi.
I think
doesn't
the
really
hard
check out.
part is after you're dead coming back. I don't think the living have that much of a challenge because like Luke could see Obi-Wan no problem. So
yeah,
like,
it's the
that's
dead
true.
coming back because
The
you had to
dead
like
are doing
rehearse
it
in that
themselves.
technique to be able to
Yeah.
do it.
So
That's true.
so Qui-Gon
think-
was the one pioneering it.
Oh,
Obi-Wan
yeah.
was just the first one to learn how to do it from a Force
Yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
Obi-Wan was probably just going around like he's like, "Hey, get up! We gotta motivate this girl. Come on, get up!"
Yeah, pretty much.
Get up.
But honestly, my biggest issue, aside from like the lore of the world changing a lot, and obviously all the problems that the trilogy had in general, was again just how fast paced the movie was.
Yes.
From like an individual filmmaking perspective, you think about what JJ wanted, just the filmmaking parts of it to be. I don't like again how they create problems and then solve them immediately and move on to the next thing. It's
Like
too
everyone
fast
Well,
paced.
I do think he tried to pack in a lot of the ideas he had for 8 and
Yeah.
9 into one
Oh,
movie.
definitely.
So he was kind of trying to make sort of two movies. Like he probably cut some things just because
Right.
Ryan Johnson would have, I guess, ruined those ideas.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that he wanted to fit more in than could ever fit.
Right. I mean, even the beginning of the movie. Remember, he had Poe Lightspeed hopping,
Yeah.
which was
See,
like
that's a
never
good-
explored again.
That's a good allegory for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's like your lightspeed hop, and everybody just knows what that is, and I'm like, I have no.
It's like,
what is
why
this?
is this a
Did
challenging
Han
thing?
never
What?
try that before?
Yeah.
Like,
And
What
honestly,
is-
the thing about light speed is they always talk about how you need like an astromech to calculate your jumps, and you have to
Right.
like it's definitely a science.
well, because
like,
if you just
Yeah,
go
and
in
then-
a straight line, you're gonna hit
Yeah.
something.
Well, yeah, and then why did the TIE fighters immediately like jump in behind them? Like,
yeah,
thought
they
you
wouldn't
couldn't
know their
do that.
positions.
Like,
well,
what?
that's
Also,
the whole
TIE
point of 8.
fighters.
That's the only thing that happened in 8 is that they, for somehow, were able to track people through lightspeed.
yeah.
Also, TIE fighters
Oh,
don't have
that's-
hyperdrives, do they?
No, they don't.
Do they
But
not?
apparently that's the-
Normal TIE
Yeah.
fighters don't have hyperdrives
That's why you
or
could get away
shields.
from them.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they came in anyway. I mean, maybe the First
No,
Order
they,
ones
they
are
did.
like,
They did follow them, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that's why in like the original, you could escape
Right,
them
yeah.
by hitting.
Well, that's also
hyperdrive.
why Obi-Wan was like, "There's ties out here. That's weird. There should be like a base or a ship or something because
Oh right.
ties
right.
don't have long-range engines."
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. So,
So-
they followed it back.
Yeah, they don't have long-range engines or like shields or anything. They're just like, or life support. That's why they wear those masks.
Right. That's the thing. Like the original trilogy is very consistent with
Yeah.
the tech that existed.
And the thing is, they understand that
I
like,
remember.
you know, this is a galactic white empire. You can't give all the soldiers the best stuff. Like ties are really bad. The armor's not great. It barely prevents them from getting shot. Like, but they have to armor and outfit billions of troops. So
Yes.
obviously the blasters aren't going to be very good and like
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But in the First Order, it's like, oh, I don't know how they got all this money to build all this stuff, but they just have amazing Star Destroyers and ties with, you know, crazy capacity. And then Palpatine comes along with this fleet, and I don't
So
know.
can I ask a question? How the Sith what were they? Sith tracker, holocron things, whatever they were.
Oh, the Wayfinder.
The Wayfinder.
Wayfinder.
Yeah.
How long did those exist? Because like I was
I
saying,
think that was a new thing.
Right. So then, what was the point of like the ancient dagger that explained what they were? Because like they had to be placed there at some point after the Death Star was shot down.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, if Palpatine put them there, because presumably he put them
because
there.
the dagger wouldn't work without the Death Star being crashed exactly as
exactly
it was.
the way it was.
So.
So
Yeah,
that means
yeah.
after it crashed and settled in a seething, raging ocean,
Yeah.
Palpatine went out there, drew the thing, and made this
Made the
ancient
dagger,
dagger,
yeah.
which he then got rid of and had to hire some dude to get it back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
And I hope you're standing on the right spot on the hill, otherwise the
Otherwise it doesn't line up.
doesn't
So,
line
but
up.
like, because what was the guy who actually had the dagger? What was his goal?
Well, that was like the Sith hunter or the Jedi hunter.
Hello?
Hello?
Nate's in here, right?
No, this
we're-
isn't Nate's place. This is our
Nate
place.
is the other one.
He said he's in apartment 2.
Apartment 1, brother.
One.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie.
Come on.
Anyway, that
Everyone-
was
We're not gonna
Yeah,
cut that.
podcast
If,
Boo,
for
Callum.
all you guys listening, that's Callum Hobber. He just ruined your listening experience.
Yeah.
our wonderful guy.
Every-
the podcast is
Take a moment now to dislike the video if you
No,
didn't
wait.
like it.
Every comment should be Callum stinks.
Yeah, comment Callum stinks.
Yeah.
We will personally like your comment if you comment.
Colon.
Callum.
We will
Left
show him
parenthesis.
your comments, every single one. If you write
Yep,
it,
that's
Callum.
true.
Also, what was with the guy who was a traitor for like 2 seconds before he
Oh.
died?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just need to see.
Yeah.
I just need to see Kylo.
Okay,
That's
okay.
like
For the record,
dumbest.
I was really happy that he got to do something, and his reasoning was so in line with his character.
It's so in line with his character, but his character is so shitty to begin with.
Yeah.
I
his
just
character's
wanted to
garbage.
see Kylo Ren.
He's like, they apprehended me. He's like, all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Shoots him.
Shoot me-
Boom. Well,
shoot
that's
my
the
arm.
traitor.
Okay,
Shoots
it
away.
was. Oh my gosh! It was grab the gun, shoots them. I'm the traitor. Walks out, gets shot. That was his whole story
Pretty
in
much,
that
yeah.
movie.
I just thought it was so funny that it didn't fool anybody at
See,
all.
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, he should have
How
just
did you get
gone
away
with
with this
them.
so-
He should've gone with them, though.
So
How did you
I
get away with
actually,
this for so long?
I got bamboozled because I thought, you know, the new general they brought in.
Yeah,
I thought
it was
he
him,
was
too.
the traitor,
To be
and
honest,
Hux
so did
was
I.
going to smoke him out.
Yeah,
Because then
so did
Hux
I.
actually would accomplish something for the First Order.
I thought that.
Finally.
Well, see, the thing is, they've done sort of the like Imperial Trader thing before, actually in Rebels, with what's his name, Agent Callus.
Callum?
Yeah, not Agent
Callum
Callus.
stinks.
Agent Callus. His whole reasoning for like, defecting to the rebels is that he
Yeah, Paris
crash
sucks.
lands on some like barren moon with one of the rebels, and the rebel guy like saves his life and stuff, and then he sort of realizes just how like cold and unhelpful everyone else is in the Empire. Like he goes back to the ship and tries to like strike up a conversation with another guy, and he's just like,
Shut down.
no. So then he's like, all right, this actually sucks, and there's no like camaraderie or anything. So then he defects. But like that's actually like a reasonable reason. It's like very like human. But then Hux is like, nah, I just don't like Kylo. I'm just
As
like
long
Kylo's not
as
really
he
cool.
fails.
But that was such a Hux
It's
response.
it is, but I don't know.
I
Hux-
just
What
wanted
is
to
it?
see
I mean,
it.
Hux-
Just
They
because
literally
it's in line with your character doesn't mean
Doesn't mean
it's
it's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
character
Hux is the
can still
character.
They
It's
literally
bad.
made Hux Hitler in 7. He's out there like doing this.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
And like, I mean, you can't take Hux serious.
There's no camera, but Andy just did like a Hitler salute, but with a fist, which I'm pretty sure is what they do in the movie.
It is what they do in the movie.
Shout out to me.
Half a Hydra.
Ooh,
Yeah.
alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Hail Hydra, but a little bit more lame.
I
Yeah.
love Hail Hydra.
Hey, that's
It's my
kind of
favorite
like
salute.
the entire Star Wars trilogy. A little bit like
Yeah.
the Marvel
Hydra.
Cinematic Universe,
Yeah.
just a little bit lamer.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, if
just
we mention
a
Marvel
lot
one
of-
more time, we're all going to explode, though. So
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah, different
Marvel.
podcasts.
Oh wait!